Well, everybody, once again, let me welcome you aboard. This is Pastor X, another edition of On the Spot. I'm excited to be alive. I'm grateful for life tonight. And I am equally as excited to have a guest that is near and dear to my heart. I want you to tag someone. I want you to hit the share button tonight. Tonight is going to be very informative, very enlightening. He's not a preacher in the pulpit, but listen, the gym is his pulpit, and he's doing ministry in another vineyard. And I believe that the hand of God is on our guest's life tonight. So welcome aboard to On the Spot. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse number 8 says, "For bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things." Now, while Timothy, the Apostle Paul is writing to Timothy, saying that bodily exercise profiteth little, I want to submit tonight that that little can mean a whole lot. Bodily exercise can be a matter of life or death. It can be a matter of whether you are sick or whether you are well. Tonight, I'm dedicating this show, the first Sunday in the month of August, highlighting the importance of taking care of your temple, taking care of your bodies. The Bible is clear that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. I want you to get that tonight. Your body is where God lives. And you want to make sure that he's not living in a sloppy house, in a dirty house, in an unkept house. You want to make sure that you are doing what is necessary to make sure that Holy Spirit is abiding in a temple that is worthy of his presence. Listen, when I tell you tonight, this young man, I'm going to let him go in just a moment. He happened to be my personal trainer. And listen, I'm not bringing him on just because he's my personal trainer. He has a story to tell, a testimony I believe that the world should hear. And I trust and pray that this show tonight, this edition of On the Spot, ignite your faith, fuel your fire, and put a spark in you to do something to take care of your body. My guest tonight, Mr. James Richardson. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Thank you for that introduction. That was the best one I've ever had.
Man, you know that, man. You know that's right, man. I'm happy to have you aboard tonight. I know you're busy going hither and thither, doing the work that I believe God has assigned to your hands to do. You know, God needs somebody everywhere. He needs somebody in the pulpit. He needs somebody in government. He needs somebody in sports. He needs somebody in entertainment. God needs someone everywhere. And I believe, James, that God has you just where he wants you. How did you fall in love with physical training?
Well, I've been active ever since I was a kid. But just to run over what kind of condition I have, to everybody understands what I have and what I do. I have a chronic illness called cystic fibrosis. So my whole entire life, I have been fighting death. I've been fighting trying to stay alive. And for me, when I was a young kid, I would always play sports. I'd always try to be active. But I never realized how actually sick that I was until I got to be in the gym and around other guys that were trying to be fit as well. So for me, I got into the weightlifting game when I was about 17 years old. I started gaining a little bit of muscle mass, which is pretty much impossible for somebody with my condition. They tell us when we're a young kid that you should pretty much not get used to building muscle. Don't be fit. Don't try to have a job. Pretty much you're not going to be normal, and we don't really know how long you're going to live. So for me, I took that as a challenge. When I was a young kid, I got into the gym, like I said, when I was 17, and I started seeing a lot of results. So I decided to make something out of myself with that. And people were asking me, why I'm being fit and what's the reason for me to do it. And it was my chronic illness, is to push people. And for me, the gym and healthy lifestyle literally keeps me alive. If I wasn't where I am as far as health and fitness goes, who knows where I would be right now.
Wow, you mentioned several times that word chronic, that you have a chronic disease.
Yeah.
What is the difference between an acute disease and a chronic disease? I've heard you say that several times.
Well, chronic disease, there's a couple different things. Mine is genetic. So both of my parents have the genetic defect. I had the chronic illness. So both of your parents have to have the defective gene. Now, chronic illness is pretty much saying that it can kill you at any moment. So as my chronic illness gets worse and worse as you age, it's so the older I get, every year is a blessing and every year is a gift for me, because when I was a young kid, I was told that I wouldn't live this long. So for me, this is something that going back to the health and fitness is something that literally saves my life every single day. Now I preach it to others. I help other people get healthy and fit as well. But it also means a lot more to me than just being in a gym and lifting weights.
Wow. It's really a lifestyle for you.
100%. It's my whole entire day. And I know we've talked about this before, but I eat it, I sleep it, I do it, I talk about it. It's my life. When I wake up in the morning, my life is fitness and health.
So listen, I want to digress for a moment. You said something that was very critical, and I want to bring it to our viewers on tonight. You was told ever since you was younger that your chances of making it was slim to none. You've been fighting a death sentence all of your life. Say a word about that.
Yeah, so since I was born, my body has been trying to kill me.
Wait, since you were born, your body has been trying to kill you. Yes, wow. Yeah. Wow. That is so powerful, James, because that is the plight of so many that are listening to this live tonight, whether it is cancer, whether it's leukemia, whether it's diabetes, whether it is some ailment, some disease. Since you've been born, it's been trying to kill you. I'm sorry, but man, I had to tag that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So since I've been born, it's been trying to kill me. So for me, as an advocate for my chronic illness, cystic fibrosis, through all these hardships and tough times of me fighting back to just get my life, it's made me a strong person. I've had to overcome so many challenges. I mean, when you face death multiple times at a young age, you're in hospitals and people are telling you that you can't live you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do this. My entire childhood, young teens into my adulthood, I've been told that I cannot do these things. And for me, as you know, we know each other personally, but I'm a little bit of a stubborn person. I don't listen to a lot of what people say to me until I've researched and done what I have done on my own end. But for me, I just didn't listen. I fought back, because when someone's trying to kill you or someone's trying to get at you, you have to fight back. You have to be a fighter in any kind of situation, whether it's life, whether it's if you have pain or suffering in your life, you have to fight back in some sort of way. And for me, I've just acclimated that's my mindset. I'm a fighter. I fight back through anything in life because that's just what I had to do. I had to be that way, or else who knows where I would be. I want to live long, healthy life. So I had to fight back against my illness.
You know, James, I preached this morning a message entitled, Don't Let Go. The premise was to hold on to God. And I told the listeners that when you are in a fight, when you are in a battle, you have literally two choices. You can either fight to live or you can quit and die. It is as simple as that. Yes. You have a chronic illness that was supposed to take you out. You've been in and out of the hospital all of your life. You were not expected to make it this far in life, but you made a conscious decision to fight back. Yeah. That is so important because so many people just roll over and die. Yeah. So many people go to the hospital and the doctor gives them a bad prognosis or diagnosis, no matter what it may be. And, they have a woe is me. Oh, nobody knows the trouble I see. They begin to have what I call a pity party and a sympathy session, and they feel sorry for themselves, and they do not fight back. It is so important to fight back. Now, say this tonight, because as those of you who are listening tonight, this is Pastor X, you're listening to On the Spot. I have my personal trainer with me tonight as my special guest. We are divorcing ourselves from regular programming to bring some real life issues to you. In this pandemic, listen, in this pandemic, those of you who keep going to the refrigerator, keep going to the pantry, keep buying fast food, those of you who are just sitting around the house in this pandemic, no. You're going to have to work your bodies. You're going to have to take care of your temple. This is a good time to get in shape. James, I have so much that I want to throw at you tonight because, man, as you and I have bonded, I have just been mesmerized by the grace that is on your life. I've been mesmerized. The church is my ministry, right? Preaching is my ministry.
Right.
But health and fitness is your ministry.
Exactly.
And you help me to do my ministry, and I help you to do your ministry.
Vice versa. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Say a word. I want to delve into this, James, because I've witnessed this firsthand, not only in your chronic illness, but you as a personal trainer. Say a word about the need of being mentally fortified, mentally strong. I remember when I first started with you, my mind and my body was at war with each other.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. So for me, just to jump off of that mental strength, for me, we've spoken about this before, but I think everybody has a purpose in life, right? Everybody has something that we're supposed to do. And through all this pain and hardship, I've learned one thing. I've learned that God will not show you your purpose until you go through the pain and the suffering of what you're supposed to go through. You will not get to your life's purpose until you go through the pain and the anguish and the suffering. And a lot of times our purpose in life is right next to us and we just keep ignoring it. Like that's what happened to me. I was always trying to do things big and I was trying to make something of my life, but I could never figure out what it was. I could never figure out how to do it. I would throw things against the wall and they just weren't sticking for so long. And the entire time my purpose was to be an advocate for chronic illness, to motivate, to inspire, to show people that I can fight back. And you don't have to give up if something hard is happening in your life. You don't have to lay down to your chronic illness or lay down to a bad relationship or a death in the family or something that's hurting you personally in your life. You don't have to lay down to that. We can push through anything in life. I'm pushing through literal having near-death experiences my entire life, feeling like I was drowning, not being able to breathe. If I can push through things like that in life, any of us can push through anything. And we have to stay motivated and we have to stay inspirational. Because once we let our brain start to take over and start to talk us into doing things and dropping that level of inspiration, that level of motivation, and I've done it myself and all of us have too, I'm sure that are listening. We get in our own heads and we get that motivation starts to drop. And we start to pity ourselves. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, me. Oh, I don't have the motivation. But we have to bring ourselves back. And remember your pain and the struggles that you've been through. That's what's going to bring you to the next level, not anything else.
Wow. And you work through that pain.
I have to.
Wow.
Because for me, X, it's between life and death. And I've experienced the pain of that. And I've experienced the joy of that, of life. And I don't want to lose my life to something if I can control and I can fight back against it.
You know, James, I have a saying here at the church: whatever God bring you through is what God is calling you to.
Exactly. I agree with that.
whatever he brings you through is what he's calling you to. The flip side of that, James, I believe that your misery becomes your ministry.
Right, 100%.
Wow, I'm hearing you constantly clear your throat tonight. What's that about? I mean, you've done that at least 100 times since you've been on the live tonight.
So I'll give you guys a little bit of a background. So the way cystic fibrosis works is our lungs fill up with thick, sticky mucus all of the time. Okay, so our water and our salt do not work as one. As a normal human being, the water and salt channels in the body, they work together to thin mucus out in your body. My channels are closed off. Now, the reason why you're hearing me clearing my throat is because I had a chronic cough for 26 years. Before me and you met, X, I had a chronic cough for, like we spoke about, for 26 years. I would cough every 5 seconds. I just got on a new medication that's changed my entire life. It's a miracle medication that came out for people with cystic fibrosis that has made me not cough anymore. But the mucus is still there a little bit, and it keeps coming up into my throat. That's why you hear me clearing my throat. But it's like it's like glue getting stuck in your throat. That's why you hear me do that.
Wow, it's like glue getting stuck in your throat. And you've had to deal with this. This is just one component. This is just one factor of what you've been dealing with ever since you've been in the world.
Yeah, so I mean, for when I was a kid, I'll just run you through my daily regimen if that's okay, if you want me to do that.
Please do. Share with our viewers tonight.
So the daily regimen, for me when I was a kid, before a lot of technology and medications came out, I would wake up in the morning and my mom would have to pound my back for 30 minutes at a time to break up the mucus in my lungs so that I could cough it out, because it's so thick and sticky that it sticks to the walls of our lungs. And what it does is if it stays in the lungs for too long, the bacteria creates infection. The infection breaks down the lining of the lungs, and we eventually have to get lung transplants or we pass away. So for me, I've been clearing that for when I was a kid. Technology has advanced. Now, when I wake up in the morning, I do a vest that pounds my chest for 30 minutes. I do another hour of breathing treatments after that to clear all of the mucus out of my lungs, as well as thin the mucus. And then I go about my day. Also, I cannot eat any food without taking pills because my pancreas does not have the enzymes to break down food. That's why people in cystic fibrosis community are very amazed by me, because I've gained a lot of muscle and a lot of size and a lot of weight. People with cystic fibrosis, it is almost impossible to gain muscle mass and to gain weight. People with cystic fibrosis are the typical look for CFers like myself are skinny, malnourished, small, looks like we look sick. So for me to be able to build muscle, build strength is literally, in my community, impossible.
Wow.
Because our bone density is a lot smaller as well. Our bones aren't as strong. It's harder for us to lift heavy weights. So for me, I had to push myself. Think about being in the gym. I know a lot of people that are viewing this have been in the gym and how it's like to lift heavy weights, and it's very hard. And it hurts the bones and the joints. So for me, I had to push past 5 times harder to be able to get to where I am now in the gym.
Listen. Would you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Give me some of that. Give me some of that. Give me some of that. And that. What you say?
I'm trying to be like you.
No, I'm trying to listen. You my teacher. You're my coach. You know. Listen. I want to backtrack. Every day, James. Every day, you wake up early in the morning. You put on a 10, 15, 20-pound vest on.
Correct.
The vest beats your chest to break up the mucus.
Correct.
After the mucus is broken up, you take a breathing treatment for an hour, hour and a half.
Around that time, yes.
Around that time.
Yeah.
Then, so you have to get up way earlier than the average person because you have so much prep work that you have to go through every day.
And also, just to bounce off of that, it's not just like I'm sitting there doing these treatments. I'm sitting there and literally coughing and coughing and coughing until I almost throw up, because it's like thick glue coming out of your lungs, pretty much. So that in itself is very exhausting. So I start my day off with an exhausting process right out of bed. I'm coughing. I thank God for this medication, but before this, I'm coughing so much and throughout the day for 26 years that I would cough my ribs out of place. I would have chronic headaches. I would have body aches. I would have chills. Just from, like, if anybody on this is watching this has ever had a cold and you're coughing all the time, right? How exhausting is that? Just in one day, or if you have a cold for 2 weeks, imagine for 26 years.
Wow. You know, James, I had to bring you on tonight. Those of you who are watching on the spot, listen, I want you to tune in next week. My covenant brother, friend, Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant, pastor of the New Birth Church in Atlanta, Georgia, will be our special guest. But I had to interrupt this regularly scheduled programming to bring to you breaking news. Now, James, I'm going back to that. Listen, you had no clue I was going to do this. I had no clue I was going to do this, but I feel led by the Spirit of the Lord. Listen, I'm going to get back to our conversation, but how can we sow into you tonight? I know that in your ministry of health and fitness, that it is your passion and purpose. You are an anomaly. You're not the norm. Most people with your condition are in bad shape. Most
Correct.
People that are in your position is in poor health. Is that correct?
Correct.
You are literally fighting a death sentence, are you not?
I am, yes.
But you have a foundation, you have an organization whereby you help others to stay alive. You help others to fight. Listen, how can we be a blessing to you tonight to expand your territory, that as we bless you tonight, we are helping somebody to stay alive? That's what I want to do tonight. I want our viewers, listen, I've never asked you to do this on the spot, but I feel led by the Spirit of the Lord tonight to sow into good ground. I don't care if it's $10, $20, $50, $100. I don't care what it is tonight. I want us to sow into the work that you are doing to help others with cystic fibrosis stay alive. How can we get that information?
My website is crushingcf.com. Crushingcf.com is a website that I just came out with. It helps with motivation. It helps train people, others with cystic fibrosis. But the most important part of that website is there is a donate button on the bottom of that website. All of the proceeds that we were going to make from crushingcf.com are going to go to kids, young adults, and teenagers that have cystic fibrosis that right now can't afford health and training programs for themselves, dietary programs for themselves, supplementation programs for themselves. Because with cystic fibrosis, we can't just take the same supplements that everybody else takes. We can't eat the same food that everybody else eats. And a lot of people that are in the hospital that are fighting for their life, they cannot do the same workouts that normal people do. So this has to be monitored. It has to be adjusted to them. And that's what I do too as well. I help the cystic fibrosis community stay healthy and fit as an advocate. But the way you guys can help with that is crushingcf.com, and just donate what you can. All the proceeds will be going to people with cystic fibrosis to help them be healthy and fit.
Again, give me the website. What is it?
Crushingcf.com.
Crushingcf, cysticfibrosis.com. To all of my on the spot family, listen, I need you to go there immediately. So $5, $10, $15, $20. Listen, tonight I'm going to sow, my wife and I, our children, we're going to sow $100 tonight to crushingcf.com. Listen, I say this, James, I may not never go to Africa, but it doesn't mean I can't help someone else go to Africa and do the mission work that's on the mission field. We may not be able to do what you do, but we can help you, aid and assist you in this great effort. You're listening to Pastor X tonight. This is On the Spot. My guest is a friend and brother who is my personal trainer. We're going to get to that in just a few moments about the necessity of what it takes for me with my assignment of having these three churches that God has given unto my account, given unto my care. It is very critical that a guy like me stay in shape. A guy like me is disciplined with not only physical training, personal training, but my diet. How am I able to move in and out of spaces? How am I able to preach sometimes 4 and 5 times on a Sunday? Teach Bible study in one location, go to another location, continue to be all that God is calling for me to be. I want to be around for my children, man. I have a 6-year-old son, my only begotten, who is my namesake. I have 2 daughters. I want to walk them down the aisle. I want to give them away. I want to play with their children, my grandchildren. I want to be around for my great grandchildren. And if in fact I'm going to do that, I understand that it's more than just praying. It's more than just positive confession, but I have a responsibility to do my part. Now, with all of this, James, that you go through every day, I'm talking about from the life jacket, the vest, to the pills that you have to take, to the breathing treatments, all of this that you do not once a week, but every day. And while you're doing it, you're coughing up mucus. I'm sure some days are better than others. I'm sure sometimes your mind plays tricks on you.
Yes.
I want to ask you a question tonight.
Okay.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor, James.
Yeah.
Speak a word to someone who is listening tonight who says, Pastor X, I don't have cystic fibrosis, but I go to dialysis 3 times a week, and they're taking all of the blood out of my body, cleaning it, putting it back in my body. Speak a word of what it takes to be mentally strong. What about the person, James, who is going to chemotherapy 2 or 3 times a week, radiation? They want to quit. They're tired. They're exhausted. Some perhaps are listening tonight and they say, listen, I'm just ready for God to take me. What would you say to that individual?
I would say to those people, but not types of people, I relate 100,000% to that, because when you're facing death and you're facing hardships in life, it's very hard to stay positive. It's very hard to stay motivated. But the one thing that I would say to people that are struggling with any type of thing in their life is pain only lasts so long. And once the pain is over, it turns into a strength for you. And then once that strength is in your mind and in your life, you're able to turn around and help others with their problems and with their hardships and with their confusion of what's going on and why is this happening to me? Because there's been many of times where I've sat there and asked that question. Why is this happening to me? Why can't I breathe? Why am I in the hospital every 3 months? Why am I getting hospitalized for 2 weeks? But while all this is happening to you, you have to remember that it's developing your character. It's developing toughness. It's developing you to be able to push through anything in life. And it's happening for a reason. So I would say that be patient, sit down, take a deep breath. If you're going through anything like that, go through the processes that you have to go through to stay healthy and stay alive. But just remember, that pain is going to turn into your power like we spoke about earlier. The pain that we go through is going to be your story. We're writing a book here. Everybody is writing a book. And at the end of our book, when we look back, what is that book going to look like? Is it going to say that we gave up on the pain and we just laid down and let it take us? Or is it going to say we overcame the pain and pushed through it? And that's what I would say to those types of people that are dealing with any type of hardship in their life right now.
I love it. I love it. I'm getting text messages while we're on the live tonight. Listen, I want to give it to you again, crushingcf.com, crushingcf.com. Any love gift of any amount will be appreciative tonight. We speak life in Jesus' name. We speak, listen, that you shall live and not die. I want you to sow tonight. I've never asked our viewers for anything. I don't care what size, whatever you have to give tonight, let us sow to continue to give life. Listen, James, I'm a giver by nature. You know, it's one of my gifts to give. You and I did not discuss this tonight. I had no clue that I was going to go this way, but I just want to help somebody, man. I want to help. If $20 helps somebody stay alive because they are working out, they are exercising, you are putting together meal plans for them, supplements, you're giving all of that. Listen, I'm willing to let my children sacrifice a toy or a game in order for somebody to live.
100%. 100%.
How did this chocolate boy and this vanilla guy, how did God cross our paths? I mean, how do we get into this bond of friendship, man?
Well, like we've spoken about before, I think everything happens for a certain reason, right? We cross paths for a certain reason. But the story of how me and you met was when I first met you, you were actually working with a different trainer.
Right.
And you told me that you just survived cancer. And we started talking about that. And
don't make me cry. Don't make me cry, James. Listen, man, this is going all around the nation tonight. Don't break me down, man.
Sorry, I won't. If you cry, it's okay, man. That means you're more powerful.
Yes, sir.
So we discussed the hardships and battles that you've had with cancer, and that we kind of related on an emotional level with that, of just being a warrior and being able to push through pain. And with your story, you were told it was pretty much over for you at the time, and you didn't take no for an answer, and you kept going until you find the right answer. That's how we met. I think that when we first were even in each other's presence in the gym, we didn't really speak to each other. There was a little bit of, when you meet somebody that you're supposed to be around, there's an energy pull to that person. And I think that we had an energy pull. Even we spoke a couple sentences to each other, and you shared with me when we became friends that, when I first heard you talk, you just sounded like you knew what you were talking about, and you wanted to be with a trainer that had the knowledge and knew exactly what to do. And then fast forward a few months later, we ran into each other at one of the major health clubs out here in Los Angeles. And you were looking for a gym, and you were looking for someone to help you. And that's kind of how our relationship started. And ever since then, the client trainer relationship turned into be a brothership and a friendship.
Absolutely, man. And listen, is it safe to say that I love you?
Of course. Yes.
I love you, man.
Yeah,
Tell me you love me back.
I love you too. I was just about to. Hey. But yeah, of course. Yeah. It's a blessing for me. And you've taught me a lot about faith and how to speak to God about certain problems and things like that. So that's definitely appreciative on my side.
It's a two-way street, man. We bless each other. I look forward to my workouts with you. Say a word, because many are listening tonight are like me. Sometimes I'm lazy. I don't want to come. I don't want to show up. Sometimes I say, just dock me. You know what I mean? Just take a training session off of me. I'm not coming. But you have motivated me. Say a word to the viewers who are just like me, man, that Monday is coming tomorrow. And guess what? I'm supposed to be with you tomorrow, but you know the deal. I may call in the morning, and then you have a way of saying no, Pastor X. You have a way of saying no. Listen, you're working out today. You're going to get through it today. Say a word to those who are listening who have so many excuses like me. I'm busy. I'm talking about legitimately busy. I have a family. I have a wife. I have children. I have a ministry. You know, I have things to do. But you seem to hold me accountable in the need to put in the work and put in the time. Why is that so necessary?
Because, like you said earlier, you want to be around for your kids. You want to walk your daughters down the aisle. So for me, an excuse now in the present day, if I let you make that excuse and I don't keep you accountable, number one, I'm not doing my job, right? Because if I was just like, yeah, no problem, have a good one, have a good day, eat whatever you want, and just I'll see you next week. That wouldn't be a trainer, because I care about my clientele. I want them to succeed. And that also reflects on how good of a trainer that I am. But
so you don't just take your clients' money.
No, never. I actually won't even take somebody's money unless they're serious, because for me, it's not worth my time if somebody's going to be giving me excuses all the time and not we wanted to do it. But I care, like I said, I care about my clients. And when I speak to my clients and I develop a friendship and a relationship, being a trainer is a little bit like being a therapist as well, because you speak to clients and you get to see them and you meet their families and you get to know their life, because we're together for, an hour, at least 3 times a week. But what I would say to those people that are giving them excuses, we all have excuses to give. We all have lives. We all have families. We all are busy. We all have kids and relationships and jobs. But health is the number one important thing that you should put at the top of your list. Because if we don't have health, then we have absolutely nothing. We can kiss all that stuff goodbye, all the excuses that we're making to not show up and not put a little bit of work in. That'll all go bye-bye if we don't take care of our health and our fitness. And also, we've discussed this too. It's not just about coming and working out and moving your body. It's about mentally too. Because like you've told me after every session, I didn't want to come today, man, but now I feel good in my head. Now I can go kill the rest of my day. And that right there is the most powerful thing, because it's not just physical, it's clarity, mental clarity. It releases the endorphins in your brain to be more successful, have more energy, be more motivated. If we're sitting on the couch giving ourselves excuses to not do anything, that becomes a trickle, a snowball effect. And then it goes into the next thing. And we look 5-6 years down the road and we're 100 pounds overweight. We have type 2 diabetes. We have hypertension. Now we're going to try to climb this fence that we just built for ourselves because we just wanted to give a little bit of an excuse and not put time for ourselves. We have to understand that health, working out, fitness is time for ourselves. It's not it's hard, but anything worth doing is hard. Going to work is hard. We don't want to do it. Anything worth your health. This is worth your health and your life. We can work out for 6 months and add 5 years to your life.
Wow.
Or we can sit on the couch and eat nothing for 5 months and eat like, terrible. And then we can take 5, years off of our life. I want my clients and the people that work with me to know that this is about life expectancy. It's about lifespan. It's about making ourselves successful physically and healthy. And like we've discussed before, when you are a successful person as yourself, and you walk into a room of 900 to 1,000 people and you go to preach and you walk into a suit and you look fit and healthy, people are going to start looking at you and going, what is he doing that I'm not doing? I want to be like that. I want to be like that guy. Because people judge appearance first. And if I go into a session, which I've seen many of times in my career, I go into a session and I'm just overweight. I'm out of breath. I'm eating cheeseburgers every other night and I'm just doing this. We have to have certain disciplines in our life. We make time for the important things. We make time for kids. We make time for our wife. We make time for our jobs, but we never sit down and make time for ourselves. we're always going here and doing this and making this busy. But this hour, 30 minutes to go and work out and get your blood moving prevents cancer, prevents diabetes, prevents type 2, prevents hypertension, heart attack. So we're doing this now. We're young. I mean, we're not old, right? I mean, obviously you're a little bit older than me, but I'm a lot younger than you. I'm a lot younger than you, but we're still young, right?
Yeah,
and we want to live a long, healthy life.
Yeah.
We don't want those years to be taken off. So
wow.
The discipline, we got to have the discipline.
I love it, James. You said something, man, that I want to regurgitate. You said that, man, we can work out for 6 months and who knows, add 5, 10 years to our lives, you know?
100%.
Wow.
We would be very surprised. People would be very surprised of how much working out and just moving your body will help you in every other aspect of your life. As a human being, we are not meant to be sedentary. We are meant to move. God has made us to move. Back in the warrior ages, back in those times when we had to fight for our food and hunt for our food, you would never see an overweight person in those times because our bodies were moving all of the time. Now in our time, it's very easy for us to grab a burger. It's convenient for us to grab a soda. It's convenient for us to go to dinner and have some macaroni.
I think you picking on me.
I'm not, for some reason, they just popped into my head. I don't know why. But yeah, so we have to have the discipline. I preach discipline all the time. Once you discipline yourself in fitness and health, you can discipline yourself in anything.
Wow. Once you discipline yourself in fitness and in health, you can discipline yourself in pretty much anything.
Because once you can control what goes into your mouth, like you've told me this before, once you can control the food that goes into your mouth, you can control anything. Because that's the hardest part. Because it's so easy for us to eat terrible things nowadays. It's so convenient and we're just lazy and we're tired and we don't want to do it. But when you're tired, that's when you should do it because then you become stronger.
Wow.
And then every time you just become stronger and stronger and they're disciplined and you just keep it into a rhythm and keep it rolling.
Wow. Listen, this is Pastor X. You're listening to On the Spot. My special guest tonight is my personal trainer, Mr. James Richardson, owner and CEO of Insight Fitness. I thank God for him. I wanted to mix it up tonight, break up the monotony, if you will, and bring some relevant life principles to you tonight that we all wrestle with. I hear people, I went to the doctor and I was listening to someone, the nurse say to a patient, oh, you picked up some pandemic weight, you know? And it's easily in the midst of this pandemic to gain an extra pound or 2 or 3 or 4. But why don't you make good use of your time in this pandemic? Start a goal. Listen, I already know you read the word. I already know you pray. I already know you meditate. I already know you do those things to keep a vibrant, venerable, victorious relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. But I want to know tonight, how is your temple? How is your body? Man lives in a body. He's a spirit. He possesses a soul, but the body is where the temple of the Holy Spirit dwells. If you're listening tonight, listen, I need a favor. Our guest tonight is a cystic fibrosis warrior. It's a chronic disease. He has a foundation called CrushingCF.com. CrushingCF.com. If it's $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, whatever you can sow tonight. I've never asked you to give anything on this digital format. I'm asking you tonight on OTS, on the spot. Listen, let's help be a blessing to somebody else. God sends blessings to you in order to get a blessing through you. Listen, if you're listening tonight, perhaps, James, if someone is listening tonight and they know they need to lose weight, they know they need to exercise, They know they need to get the blood moving. They know what the doctor has told them as it relates to physical training. Where do they start? They're not motivated. They don't want to. Say a word to the viewing audience tonight. Where do they start? Where do they find the motivation?
Well, I would say that about 80% of the world doesn't like to work out, doesn't like to be fit, doesn't like to, get out and be active, because it is hard and you do have to be consistent. And the biggest thing is a lot of people like instant gratification, and working out and being fit and healthy is not something that we see right away. It's something that we have to be consistent with, and it has to be a permanent lifestyle for us. It's something that we have to do, such as brushing our teeth every day. So for me, if you're somebody who is struggling, trying to lose weight or trying to be fit or trying to be healthy, and you just don't know how to do it or what to do, you're not alone, because a lot of people don't know what to do if you've never done something before. Most people think that, working out is walking on a treadmill and walking up some stairs, but it's not. There's a science behind the body and everything, that the way it works to be able to see results. And if anybody does need that, I would recommend that you get somebody that has knowledge in the field and knows exactly what they're doing. But everybody's body is different. So for example, if I went to a trainer and tried to work out and he knew that I had cystic fibrosis, he would have to know how to train somebody with cystic fibrosis. So for me, you have to have somebody that specifically knows your body type and has worked with somebody like you before to be able to know.
How do you train a Baptist preacher?
We just throw some gloves on him and we just go at it. That's how we train him. We toughen them up.
Man, listen, throwing those gloves on. I box with you 3 times a week. Throwing those gloves on for me is such a stress reliever. It is such an escape. It is such a getaway. Wow. Thank you, James.
Yeah, of course. No problem. Of course.
Listen, one of my leaders just texted me and said, Pastor, if this doesn't inspire people to stay healthy and begin working out, then they are just lazy. Wow, that's an indictment. That's right. Cold-blooded.
Yeah, but it's true though. He's very true. It's very true.
Yeah. Straight. Many times in the church, man, people stand in the prayer line. We gotta pour grease on them, anoint their head with oil, and pray for a miracle when the blessing. Listen, God has given them the keys to their own future, so to speak. What about diet? That's something that you fuss at me about every day. But give me my dap. I do pretty good when it comes to physical training, right?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, we have the physical side down, right? So we broke that barrier down. Now we're slowly getting into the diet and the nutrition side.
I'm a Baptist preacher. I eat fried chicken.
Here comes the excuses.
Yeah. Again, but on a serious note, how important is diet?
Yeah, you cannot train a bad diet. It goes, for me, a lot of people say 80%, 20%, 80% diet, 20% training. I would say 50-50, because it's an even balance for me. If I eat well and don't train well, doesn't work. If I train well and don't eat well, doesn't work. So you have to have both. So I think that it would be 50-50. Now, depending on the goals, I would say that too as well. Now, there has been people that I've had, the clients that I've had that just want to drop, 15, 20 pounds and they eat terribly. So we would have to clean their diet up first, and then they would drop, obviously it's a shock to the system. They're not taking in as many bad calories. So you will lose weight by just changing up your diet for sure.
I don't know if you met my armor bearer yet, but he constantly tell me, Pastor, you got to eat to live. You don't live to eat. You have to eat to live.
Correct.
So, what I eat is intentional. I'm deliberate about what I eat. When he's around, man, you know how I am with soda. You know how I am with sweets. You know how I am with candy. I mean, he literally snatches takes it away because he's constantly preaching to me, Pastor, you got to eat to live and not live to eat.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, because we have to, if we put bad things into our body, it's going to reflect on the outside as well as the inside. But the good things, you would be very, very surprised if the way your body reacts to nutritional food and the way it takes in the actual nutrients and absorbs what it's supposed to absorb, instead of eating something like, let's say, a cheeseburger and drinking a soda, that is almost like a little bit of poison to your body. I mean, it breaks it down and stuff like that, but it's going to store most of that food as fat, and especially the sugars in your body.
Listen, we're wrapping up in our moments remaining. You've said a mouthful tonight. James, thank you for consenting to come on tonight. I mean, yeah. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. It is my prayer that this edition of On the Spot tonight is motivating, it is inspirational, not just for you to be spiritually fit, but for you to be physically fit. You're looking at two young men, one a little bit older than the other, have both looked death in the face and told death to kick rocks. We refuse to take it laying down. One, cystic fibrosis, another one, you all know my story, afflicted with stage 3 cancer, but we are here by the grace of God, no credit of our own, by the power of God. But listen, we're doing our part to stay alive. We're doing our part. We want to be here. We want you to be here. We want you to live your best life. We want you to live a full life. You know, the Apostle John said, beloved, I would above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prosper. We want you to be spiritually fit. We want you to be physically fit. James, personal training is your ministry. Health and fitness is your ministry. You are not just trying to get rich. I don't even think you're trying to get rich, but you're walking in your purpose. You're doing what you believe God has placed you on this earth to do. In the remaining moments, what do you want your legacy to be? You have cheated death. You have already lived longer than the prognosis of the doctors.
Yes.
What, when James is gone on to be with the Lord, living in that spacious mansion in the great by and by, what do you desire your legacy to be in the earth?
I want to be the biggest advocate for chronic illness in the world. I want to do motivational speeches all over the world. I want that to be my job. I want that to be what I do to help people and motivate them, because when people hear my story and they listen to what I have to say, there's been never one person that hasn't been motivated or inspired after they have spoken to me. And I think that in the world, especially right now, we need motivation and we need inspiration, because to push through even, let's say, a pandemic, right? We have to be inspired and we have to be motivated by something or someone. And if we don't see any motivation and all we see is terrible things on the TV and the news, mentally, we start to come down, maybe without even knowing it. But when somebody sees one of my videos or they see me speak online and they know that I've been through all these tough times and been through death and faced this and been able to push through these things, instantly I put motivation and inspiration and also hope for those that are sick and those that are going through things. So that's what my goal that I'm going to achieve is. I'm going to be one of the biggest cystic fibrosis advocates in the entire world. And mark my words, you will see me on big, huge platforms in the next 5 years.
Wow. Wow. My name is Xavier Thompson, and I approve this message. You've been listening to On the Spot. Listen, that is big. That is bold. I commend this young man for his stubborn, unrelenting faith. He is on track. He is focused. His mind is made up. He will not be defeated. It is my prayer tonight that this edition of On the Spot has been infectious and contagious, and this inspiration will break out like chicken pox, that you will wake up in the morning and say, wait a minute, I heard Pastor X talk to his personal trainer on yesterday, and if Pastor X can do it, I can do it. James, I'm signing off, but listen, man, there's several things I want to revisit.
Yeah.
You didn't listen. You fought back. And another thing you said, you fell in love with the results. I love that, man.
Process. And nobody can play God except for God. Not a doctor, not your friends, not your parents, nobody.
Come on in here, boy. I'm about to ordain you to be a preacher.
Don't get me pumped up.
I'm about to license you to be a preacher, man. Nobody can play God but God. Listen, we're signing off. It's been fun, but we got to run. Go to crushingcf.com. Any donation of any kind. We want to give life on tonight. If you just happen to be looking for a good trainer, and well, listen, we live way in the boonies, but would you come to them?
I go all over the place.
You travel to them. How can we find you?
My Instagram is JamesRich23. That's my personal Instagram. That's where I do a lot of my cystic fibrosis advocacy on there. If you guys are feeling unmotivated, you guys can go to that page. I preach a lot of motivation and overcoming things on that page. But my training page for my business is called @insight_fitness on Instagram.
On Instagram, your personal page is
JamesRich23. You can DM me on there for training as well, if that's easier for you. But I do have an Instagram for my training that you guys can check out. You can see Pastor X throwing his hands around on @insight_fitness.
Wow. Listen, it's been fun, but we got to run. Next week, he's going to be here on the spot. Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant, New Birth Church in Lithonia, Georgia. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be epic. I got to go. Until next time, if I don't see you on the air, I'll meet you in the air. Bye-bye.
Bye.